Let us start here. The purpose of this session is to cover maximum areas, maximum questions in our history optional which we studied so far. I randomly picked the question because in your final examination is also UPSC in the question booklet will never ask the questions in the chronological order. Like they pick the question from sources, then prehistoric to proto-historic, then Indus Valley civilization, then Vedic age, not in an order. Am I right? They shuffle the topics, the areas, the units. Similar way, we randomly pick the questions and we answer it. Okay, let's see. The purpose of the session is not to discuss the answers, but to make you educate or make you understand if such questions come, what all the key points which you should not miss in your answer. The key points which you should not miss in your answer. So there is a question. There is not a single question. There are lots of questions which is around this safety valve theory or safety valve thesis. This safety valve thesis is associated with what? Yes, safety valve thesis. This is associated with the formation of. Yes, this is related to the formation of INC. Formation of INC. So lots of theories are there regarding the formation of INC. Some say it is safety valve thesis, some say it is lightning conductor thesis. Different theses, different theories are there. So the question can be, do you think the safety valve thesis or safety valve theory is satisfactorily explain the very formation, the objectives of the formation of INC? Or do you think the safety valve thesis satisfactorily explain the formation of INC? Do you have any counter opinions? As a history optional student, you must have your counter opinions. You have to approach everything, you have to assess everything, anything with a critical point of view. Am I right? Yes. So see, safety wall thesis. They say that there is growing discontent among Indians in order to stop any future revolt like 1857. Yes, the formation of INC was proposed by A.O. Hume. Accordingly, this INC was founded. But there are many counter views also. You have to go for those counter views. In fact, you have to present them in your answer. One of them is, yes, this debate, revolves around his biography. Whose biography? William Benjamin's biography on Hume. William Benjamin's biography on Hume, which was published in 1913. Safety valve thesis does not explain satisfactorily the foundation of the Indian National Congress due to some reasons. What are the reasons here? One reason, try to understand. Yes, there is already a 7 volumes of secret reports sent to Simla. Okay, 7 volumes of secret reports sent to Simla and said that, yes, Mr. Viceroy, yes, there is a huge internal security threat. Anytime the peasants of India, workers of India, middle class of India, they can organize an armed revolt against this British government. So it is better to resist that particular armed revolt in some very polite and very diplomatic manner. So a report, 7 volumes of secret reports being sent to this Simla, and says that it is A.O. Hume understanding, reading these secret reports, accordingly he proposed this formation of INC. Okay, he was very well aware about this upcoming threat. In the secret reports, 7 volumes of secret reports. Yes, there is a report on this upcoming future threat against this colonial government, growing discontent among Indian peasants, Indian workers, Indian labor class, Indian middle class. So we have to act something. Okay. So A.O. Hume understanding these reports, he proposed INC formation. But here the counter view is, there is no any historical evidence that these 7 volumes of secret reports being sent to Simla. No historical proof is there. None of the archives is available now. None of, the evidence is not there. We don't have any evidence of that. We don't have any evidence of that. That is why this safety valve thesis, according to this reporter, he formed INC. That is, that is little bit misty. That is little bit confusing. Now see, Hume was the secretary of the Department of Revenue, Agriculture and Commerce. He was the secretary of the Department of Revenue, Agriculture and Commerce. Now the question is, how how the secretary of these departments get access to home department files? That is another probable question. Am I right? These are questions raised by historians only. Okay, he is actually the secretary of this Department of Revenue, Agriculture, and this Commerce. And how this secretary of Department of Agriculture and Commerce can access the files of this home department, or how can he access these particular CID reports? That is another question. Okay. Now again you see that also he was then in Simla. He was then in Simla while Home Department files kept in Delhi. Again, that is a confusing area. This guy AOQ, he was in Simla and says that the Home Department files, it is not sent to Simla, it was in Delhi only. So how can he get access to that Delhi reports? He was actually in Simla. Okay. Then see, if the Congress was founded out of the fear, if because of this fear Congress is founded, then why there is so much delay in the process? Why there is so much delay in the process? You see, the report was published and sent in 1878, and when the Congress organization was founded, it was only in 1885. That means how many years delay? 7 years. You know, around 7 years delay is there. 7 years delay is there. How that delay happened? That is another question. Then also say that Hume came to know about this upcoming threat, that is from a religious guru of Tibet. Okay, a religious guru of the Tibet informed that Mr. Aoq, to your British government, a huge threat is in the in the way. In the very coming days, there will be a huge attack by Indian farmers, working class, labor class on British government. So you have to take the initiative. So maybe this message is said by a religious guru of the Tibet. Now the question is, how a bureaucrat can simply blindly trust the words of a religious guru? That is another question. Okay, the evidence of these 7 volumes was shown to Hume by the gurus. So this report is shown by the guru to this Hume. Now the question is how this, without any further investigations or interrogations, how the Hume can blindly trust to the reports submitted by or shown by a religious guru? Okay, that is again a question mark. Then the proof offered for the safety valve theory was based on W.C. Banerjee's statement, 1898 in Indian Politics, that Congress, as it was originally started and it has since been carried, is in reality work of this Dufferin. Now here again it says that it is not actually A.O. Hume, it is actually Dufferin who proposed to this INC as a political organization. A.O. Hume, his idea was like A.O. Hume proposed to this organization is for the social and intellectual upliftment of Indians. This organization is for social, economic, and intellectual upliftment of Indians. But it was actually Dufferin. Okay, Banerjee says it was actually Dufferin. It was actually Dufferin. He said, yes, let it be a political body. It should not be a social body. It should be a political body. It should not be a body to introduce social, intellectual, or religious reforms. Actually, this should be a political body so that we will be informed about the Indian political opinion. It must be, INC must be a political body, so the political discussions will be held there, and we will be we will be informed on that Indian political opinions on various government policies. Okay, so it was not actually Hume, it was actually Dufferin who wanted it to be a political body, according to W.C. Banerjee. Okay, A.O. Hume only wanted it as a social, intellectual, cultural organization for Indians' upliftment. Okay, but Dufferin said that no, it should not be a social or intellectual body. It must be a political body where the Indian political opinion is discussed, and we British will keep informed on these, political opinions. Okay, we will act accordingly. Dufferin also was not sympathetic toward this Congress. Okay, right from the beginning itself, he was not sympathetic to Congress. He described this Congress as microscopic minority. Am I right? Microscopic minority. By 1885, his idea was like this: we cannot allow the Congress to continue to exist. So right from the beginning itself, he showed that the signs of intolerance with the Congress. Then he said it is the microscopic minority of the population. It is the microscopic minority of the population. Okay. So all these points give you an idea that actually the Congress formation the Congress formation, it is not as per according to the safety valve thesis. Okay, right from beginning itself, Duffin expressed his disgust with this INC formation. Then see, again says that Hume played a crucial role in the foundation of Congress. Even if Hume had not taken any initiative, it is already, it already set a stage for political organization. Even if Hume did not take the initiative, it is going to happen. It's gonna be happen. What? Formation of a political organization, because the situation was like this. So 1870s, 1880s, the situation was like this. Indians were looking for formation of a national organization. Even if A.O. Hume, yes, did not take the initiative, obviously there can be chance of formation of a national political organization. Now again, Hume, a political liberal, he had a clear idea about this growing discontent among Indians. Then visualized All India organization, which would represent Indian interest and act as opposition. May June, Dufferin criticized Hume. His main fault was being that he was one of the chief stimulus of home rule movement. So Hume itself, he was one of the main participant or encourager or maybe motivator of that home ruling movement, and he had a soft and sympathetic approach toward Indians. Okay, so just go for this. These are different ideas which express the point that it is not actually safety valve theory. Okay, no, actually, this is something. Something proposed by, or this is something proposed by um, Indian leaders. There are many Indian leaders, who proposed. I mean, these are some ideas proposed by Indian leaders. Now the question is whether it was a reality, whether what they actually said was a reality or it was a false notion. That is the idea. Okay. Now see, coming to another point, there is V.S. Smith. This guy is V.S. Smith. Okay. So Radhamani, V.S. Smith said something. What was that? What was that? Yes, neither Alexander nor Napoleon could build a huge empire by Pondicherry base. Fact is very simple. The British or the French or the Napoleon or the Alexander, not even the greater guys can start an empire or build an empire starting with Pondicherry. French East India Company failed here because they started from Pondicherry. British become successful here because they started from Bengal. Very fertile land, many harbors, many so-called handicraft industries, cottage industries, many rich deposits of minerals, natural resources, direct trader links with the Southeast Asia. Because of the multiple reasons, since they started with the Bengal, British become successful, but the French started with the Pondicherry. Do you think that was a cardinal blunder, starting with the Pondicherry? Yes. Now the analysis is like this. Deccan was, it was less fertile than Bengal. It was less fertile than, you can't find any shipping industries or shipyards or any profitable harbors here. Okay. So it was less fertile, and not to finance neither wild political ambitions of Duplessis nor the reckless military schemes of Lally. Okay, so it is not having any lucrative trade business, nothing. Okay, this Deccan Peninsula, Deccan region, by this time it was so less fertile. It is not as fertile as this Bengal. Is not having that much industrial establishments, commercial establishments like Bengal, and you see that the income from Pondicherry was not sufficient even to meet the war expenditure of the French or building a political empire here. Okay, the income from this Deccan, income from Pondicherry, that was very very minimal, Radhamani. Okay, now see, French had, see, this is in the Deccan Peninsula only. This is in the Deccan Peninsula only. Okay, so French had a harbor. Where they had a harbor, this is in Mauritius. This is in, suppose Radhamani, you think you have a huge palace which is built of the gold and diamond, but it is situated in the Antarctica region. Any use? You are preparing here for civil service in the Tekamudu junction only. but even that palace which is in Antarctica region. So the thing is, like, you see, similar way, this French, you see, they had a harbor and sea base that is in Mauritius. Their center of operation is in India. Okay, it was distant and ill-occupied, ill-equipped, because of the reasons they had a harbor or sea base in Mauritius doesn't make any sense. Okay, now see, both for commercial purposes and for purposes of the war, French seat of power was less advantageous compared to that of English. Got idea? What they say? Commercial purposes and for the purpose of our French seat of power was less advantageous compared to that yes, English. So we have seen that the French, the basic weakness of the French is, the inefficient leadership. Other than Duplessis, no proficient or efficient leaders. Then we have seen that most of the income they earn from trade they spend into war expenditures. Okay, and little discretionary powers. Along with that, this starting with the Decani base, that was a cardinal blunder because it is not resourceful. It's not resourceful. It is not having control over the strategic force, not having direct, overseas trade relations with Southeast Asia or Western world. Now, Bengal fertile land and trade strategically. So, Bengal commercially, strategically, diplomatically, all the way, militarily, all the way, it is important. Bengal, you see that? Did you see Bengal? Okay, very easily you can take the army from Britain to there, and from there you can mobilize to all the चारों parts में आप आराम से जो है उसको mobilize कर सकते हो. That is also an advantage. Yes, the excellent harbor, useful trade, not only for trade but also for military mobilization, military supply, arms, ammunition supply, etc. Now, this Ganges and tributary, they offered access to all four directions. Yeah, okay, the access. Then see, collected Bengal gold and sent men continuously to fight the battles in Madras. So that is again, you imagine this Bengal is a rich land of the resources, minerals and gold, diamonds, golds and all, irons and all. Plus, there's easier accessibility to these other parts of the world with Bengal harbor, that also facilitated the easier profitable trade and all. British command over the sea. You see that yes, we know that they are mistress over the sea. They have a superior navy. Am I right? Yes, they are masters over the sea, and they receive money provisions and these men from Bengal and Britain very easily. Then they transport and cover the operations of their forces. So this is something. I mean, this is something kind of landlocked settlement or setup for this French in Pondicherry, but the British have this access, across the coastal lines, across the coastal lines. Very easily they can mobilize their army. Very easily they can, supply their arms, ammunitions, and resources, or maybe yes, their what all things to other part of this Indian subcontinent. So all these are the advantages why. Yes, that is one reason why British become successful and French become failure. Okay. Now moving on to another topic, which is third Mysore War. See, I'm not discussing the entire answers, my dear brothers and sisters, or ladies and gentlemen. I'm only discussing some core points which you should not miss if these questions come. Now, there is a question. The question can be Third Mysore War. Did you see this Third Mysore War? Third Mysore War. You know how many installments are there? How many installments are there? First installment, the first Anglo-Mysore War, second Anglo-Mysore War, third and fourth Anglo-Mysore Wars. Do you think that in all these wars, only the Tipu Sultan is responsible for the wars? Eh? Is that Tipu Sultan is responsible for all these wars? Radhamani, your opinion, please. What do you think? I would say Tipu Sultan is only responsible for all the wars which is fought, first, second, third, fourth Anglo-Mysore wars. Yes, Purushu, what do you think? Yes, I was actually asking Radhamani, but Purushu interfered in between. Purushu was asking Radhamani, so I felt better Purushu said the answer. Come on, Purushu, your answer. Ah, ah. Okay, okay, fine. So let us think about this. Let us think about the third Mysore War. My question is, UPC say that third Mysore War could have been avoided by Cornwallis. The chocolate Cornwallis could have been avoided. Eh? He could have avoided this third Anglo-Mysore War. If that is the question, what can be your answer, your response? The third Mysore War could have been avoided by this Cornwallis. Yes, it's already said. By law, it is made mandatory that yes, focus must be on consolidation. Am I right? Focus must be on consolidation. No future wars and no kind of that political rivalries between or among these Indian states and all. Okay, focus on consolidation of power and administration. That is nice point. Then actually, the reality is like this third Anglo-Mysore war. We have seen that it is between Tipu Sultan and this Travancore Raja. Okay, Travancore Raja bought some forts from this Cochin, and without Travancore Raja bought it without the permission of Tipu Sultan. Tipu Sultan says that Travancore Raja violated the principle. Actually, Cochin is my tributary state. If you have any negotiations, any purchase or sale, you must inform me. Am I right? You must get due permission from me. You didn't do that. That's why I'm launching war against you. Actually, this war is between two guys. One is Travancore Raja opposite side. Travancore Raja opposite side. Tepo Sultan. Actually, why the hell the Cornwallis interfered? The question. Actually, this is a war between Travancore Raja and this Tipu Sultan. And actually, the Cornwallis has no role to interfere into this. Actually, he could have been kept to silence. Could have been told that this is a war between two Indian states. Why should I interfere? He could have been kept to silence. Am I right? That is one point of view raised by the historians. Okay. Now see, English involvement was clearly against the peace treaty of Mangalore Treaty. See, after the Second Anglo-Mysore War, they already signed a mutual treaty that that is yes, there is a treaty, there is a peace treaty which is signed in this Mangalore. Mangalore Treaty. There is mutual restoration and mutual peace. This is agreed in this Mangalore Treaty, and that treaty is violated by this particular. It is violated by both guys, one by Tipu Sultan and one by this British. Okay, asking for help from France by Tipu, only reaction against the formation of anti-Tipu alliance by Cornwallis. Anti-Tipu alliance by Cornwallis violated terms of Treaty of Mangalore. So actually, what he cite a reason? Yes, you made an alliance with the France. Tipu already made alliances with the France. Citing this example, they said they announced war against Tipu. But actually, we can see that this is a clear-cut infringement of this peace treaty of this Mangalore. He's not supposed to do that. I mean, the treaty is signed, not to break. Am I right? But the treaty is broken. Now, the real motive of the war, actually, this is, Cornwallis fought this war. This is to support these British motives, British imperial interest. You know, defeating the Tipu Sultan and conquering this Mysore is significantly important for this British, because Mysore, that it is having the control over these strategic stations of the south. Am I right? And it is having control of the many strategic forts in the south, Western Ghats and all. Okay, again say Mysore is controlling this very lucrative spice trade of the Malabar coast. Am I right? And this Mysore is having a strong military. This is having a strong army, and this is having strong diplomatic skills or diplomatic relationships with this anti-British anti-British foreigners. Okay, because of these multiple threats, they wanted to end this Mysore rule at any cost. That's why the real motive for the war is, that is to safeguard the British imperial interest in the south. Now, avoiding war did not mean no war in future. Actually, you can say that if Cornwallis didn't initiate war, doesn't mean that there will be no future wars, because Tipu was already making secret alliances with the foreign countries who are enemies of the British. Okay, so even if Cornwallis did not initiate, means Tipu definitely will initiate a war against the British, because he was defeated. and he wanted to eliminate, or he wanted to oust these Britishers from the Indian soil. Okay, so actually, even if Cornwallis didn't start, obviously, who will start? Tipu will start, because he want to avenge his defeats and his setbacks. He is making friendship alliances with other European powers. Okay, so these areas you have to cover well. Thank you. May change? May change? Also, it is said Tipu had a deep hatred for the British, declared no longer after signing this. Yeah, you see that. Like he was so, I mean, he was so like he's having a disgusting feeling with this British. Okay, they are totally foreigners, not suiting my soil. British already warned that attack on Travancore would be considered as attack on company. The war with the British expected when Tipu attacked Travancore. So actually, why this British interfered? Another reason is like this Travancore is already the ally of Travancore is already Travancore is already the ally of the British. You are my best friend. I will support you. If anybody attack you, I am there to support you. This idea is already there. This idea is already there. If somebody attack you Mr. Travancore Raja, if somebody attack you, I am there to support you. I am there to, oh Travancore Raja, I am there to support you. I am there to support you. Okay, so British is already making that, already made that friendship and that alliance with this Travancore Raja. So Tipu also must be mindful. If I attack a Travancore, there will be chance of attacking by this British. Am I right? So these aspects you cover. Thank you. Now go for Orientalism. What is Orientalism? Orientalism, somebody can perform a dance. Rajiv, come forward and perform a dance so that everybody feels so. So, anybody, this afternoon time is actually the time of Kumbhakarna sleep only. Am I right? 1 hour, 1.5 hour we sleep usually. Okay, Manu goes for swimming. So different attitudes, different people have different things. So Orientalism, what is Orientalism? Orientalism produced knowledge of the past to service the needs of colonial states. Am I right? Orientalism was the tool they utilized for effective administration of these Indian states according to British taste. Am I right? Orientalism is something which is produced by British, or an idea which is produced, or a tool which is introduced by British, that is to satisfy these needs of the colonial government here. Now, Orientalism is administrative policy of the East India Company in the 18th century. It is an administrative policy. It is an administrative policy. Company favoring the preservation of Indian language, laws, and customs. 1773, with Warren Hastings being appointed the Governor General of East India Company and extend up to 1832. So, this is a policy which continued from 1773 till 1832. 1773 until 1832. This policy was introduced for the preservation of Indian languages, laws, and customs. For the preservation of Indian languages, laws and customs. For the preservation of Indian languages, laws, and customs. And these conquered people were to be ruled by their own laws. Actually, this is something the central idea of this Orientalism. Your laws, your culture, your social values must be protected, and the conquered people of India, they must be ruled by their own laws. Okay, produce knowledge about Indian society. That is why എന്ത് അത്യാവശ്യമായിരുന്നു to produce knowledge about Indian society. Okay, process which is often called a reverse. Yes, this term is important here. Reverse. What is the term? Reverse acculturation. Reverse acculturation. Okay, whereby dominant society accultured themselves into the colonized society, Indian society. So the fact is very simple. They wanted to justify their colonization is for improving Indians, protecting Indians, or modernizing Indians. They wanted to simply justify their colonization. You know, അതായത് ഇന്ത്യയിൽ അവർ വന്നത് അവർ മോശമായിട്ടുള്ള പരിപാടിക്കല്ല, അവർ ശരിക്കും ഇന്ത്യൻസിനെ ഉദ്ധരിക്കാനാണ് എന്നൊരു മെസ്സേജ് കൊടുക്കാൻ വേണ്ടിയിട്ടുള്ള സംഭവമായിരുന്നു അത്. Now, why this? Why this Orientalism? Orientalism is simple. They say it is the study of this understanding India's past, culture, legacy, language, social values, institutions, etc. And why they do this study of Indian language, literature, society? That is for better control over Indian administration. Understanding Indian languages, Indian culture, Indian customary laws, Indian religious institutions, it was essential for better control over Indian resources, Indian states. That was the real intention. So here, Orientalism was a product, or Orientalism was a product to satisfy the needs of this colonial rule here. If that is the question, you try to understand that yes, moral justification. Try to understand moral justification. Moral justification given to colonialism by the study of Orientalism. All the Orientalists, they said, yes, our society has this issues. So British came here, that is to rectify this issues. So this Orientalist or Orientalist school of thinkers, they given a moral justification to this British control over India, British rule over India. Now see, William Jones established a linguistic between this Greek, Latin, Sanskrit, all supposedly belonging to the same Indo-European language. You say, Bayo Bahano, British and Indians, we are by Bahan only. He said we all belong to Indo-European language. That is Greek, Latin, Sanskrit. Okay, all this comes to a single family, which is Indo-European family. Am I right? That is why we all, by blood, we are connected. They wanted to give a message. I mean, they wanted to make, a sympathetic kind of, you got the idea, na? അത് നമ്മളെല്ലാവരും ഒന്നാണ് ഒരു അച്ഛൻ്റെ മക്കളാണ് എന്നുള്ളൊരു മെസ്സേജ് കൊടുത്തിട്ട് ഇവരെ എന്താ പറയുക ഒതുക്കി ഭരിക്കുക എന്നുള്ളൊരു പോളിസിയും കൂടി ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു അതിൽ. ഓക്കെ, now see, Maximulus Aryan migration theory. Maximulus Aryan migration theory, it also indirectly giving a message that we all belong to same blood. Maximulus says that the Aryans, they like, what they happened? They migrated from Central Asia. Sorry, they migrated from, somewhere Central Asia, or migrated from southern stretches of Russia, Arctic regions, etc. Different theories are there. So it's somewhere they wanted to make a relationship between these Europeans and Indians. Okay. So actually, they're given a moral justification to colonialism by such a kingship love theory. Okay, you say that. Okay, oh my dear Indian, I love you. Why I love you? Because we are connected by language. What is the language? You speak Sanskrit, and that Sanskrit belong to Indo-European family. Again, I love you. Why I love you? Why I love you? Because you are from this southern stretches of Russia. So family relation we are same. They wanted to make ഇതൊരു കൈൻഡ് ഓഫ് എന്താ പറയുക ഒരു ഇമോഷണൽ ബ്ലാക്ക് മെയിലിംഗ് ആണ്, മനസ്സിലായോ? It's something to establish their colonialism. They say that yes, we are here because we were looking for നമ്മുടെ ചിതറിയോടിയ കുഞ്ഞാനുകളെ തേടി ഞങ്ങൾ വന്നതാണ്. Okay, we are actually the single family only. You came from the, oh my god, what Radhamani? So you came from there and we are searching for you. We are searching for you. We came here. We are actually single family. We are actually single blood. This message they are giving. Okay. Now see, the basic intention is, they wanted this efficiency of administration. Efficiency of administration means understanding Indian territories, Indian language, Indian culture, Indian rituals. It is essential for controlling Indian local administration or Indian village administration, revenue administration, judicial administration. If they wanted to do this good governance, good administration, effective control over Indian territories, yes, it is essential to understand Indian language, Indian culture, Indian religion, Indian rituals, etc. അതിനെക്കുറിച്ച് പ്രോപ്പറായിട്ട് ഐഡിയ ഉണ്ടായിരിക്കണം. അതിൻ്റെ ഒരു ഭാഗമായിട്ടും കൂടി ഓറിയന്റലിസ്റ്റ് പഠിപ്പീര് ഓറിയന്റലിസ്റ്റ് സ്കൂൾ അവർ തള്ളിക്കൊടുത്തു. ഐ മീൻ തള്ളിപ്പിടിപ്പിച്ചു. യു സീ ദാറ്റ് ഓറിയന്റലിസം, സി we are exploring, we are studying India's culture, religion, everything, and we are translating. All this they are saying, but actual intention is they wanted to study Indian culture. They wanted to study Indian languages. They wanted to study Indian people for better effective control over Indian administration. Okay. The quickest way to increase efficiency and honesty of the civil servant is to develop them a love and affection for India. Am I right? Suppose you imagine that suppose this is Seydhu Ramayar CBI. Okay. How this Seydhu Ramayar, for example, if Seydhu Ramayar is this guy, okay, and you are Seydhu Ramayar, and some cases are there. Some cases are there. Some like century-old cases are there. So the crime bureau or maybe the crime cell invited you and said that Sethu, what is Sethu Ramayar, you see, yes, you have the biggest brain in the world and you are the masterpiece, and especially the way you walk, that is, getting viral, content in the YouTube, or maybe you are something, I mean, simply boost ചെയ്യാണ്. സേതുരാമയ്യർ ബാത്റൂമിൽ പോയാലും ബൂസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നു, സേതുരാമയ്യർ കുളിക്കാൻ പോയാലും ബൂസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നു, സേതുരാമയ്യർ എന്താ പറയുക അലക്കാൻ പോയാലും ബൂസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നു, സേതുരാമയ്യർ പഠിക്കാൻ പോയാലും ബൂസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നു. So why they do this? Because they want you to enjoy involved in the cases and ആ കെട്ടിക്കിടക്കുന്ന എല്ലാ കേസും തെളിയിക്കുക എന്നുള്ളതാണ്. മാക്സിമം നിങ്ങളെ ബൂസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്യും. നിങ്ങളെ കൊണ്ടേ പറ്റുള്ളൂ, നിങ്ങളെ കൊണ്ടേ കഴിയുള്ളൂ, നിങ്ങളുടെ ബ്രെയിൻ വേറെ ആർക്കും ഇല്ല, ഇങ്ങനെയൊക്കെ പറയുമ്പോഴത്തേക്കും സേതുരാമയ്യർ ഏറി കയറും. റൈറ്റ്? അല്ലെങ്കിൽ യു സി ദാറ്റ് സേതുരാമയ്യർ പിന്നെ മാരക പ്രസ് മീറ്റിലൊക്കെ അടിച്ചോളൂ, ഞാൻ ഇവർക്ക് വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് എന്തും ചെയ്യും എന്നൊക്കെ പറഞ്ഞോളേ. ഓക്കെ, ആക്ച്വലി ദേ ആർ ബിൽഡിംഗ് അപ്പ് ഒരു സൈക്കോളജിക്കൽ അപ്രോച്ചാണ്. ഓക്കെ, ഇയാളെ ഭയങ്കര കംഫർട്ടാക്കി ഇയാളെ സുഖിപ്പിച്ച് നിർത്തിയിട്ട് ഇയാളെ കൊണ്ട് മാക്സിമം പണിയെടുപ്പിക്കുക. Similar way, what I said is like, yes, Warren Hastings know that Orientalism, developing a love for India, it will help these civil servants to work efficiently for this British East India Company. Okay, so develop love for India, develop love and affection for India. That is the solution to enhance or increase the efficiency and honesty in the civil servants. Okay. Communicate with their own people, it's necessary to learn her languages, culture. See, civil servants, the British bureaucracy, British East India Company's bureaucracy, they wanted to interact with the Indians. How can they interact? Hello, Mr. Ramaya, nice to meet you. Welcome to Ooty. No. You see, they have to interact in English only. Am I right? But Indians, do you know Indians can speak in English that time? No, no, no. That time, only the elite class, educated class only can speak. So British understood that for effective administration of Indians, especially the lower segment, understanding their language and culture is very essential. Understanding their language and culture is very essential. You see, if you go to some communities, they have their own cultures, their own celebrations and festivals, etc. You have to learn it. Then only you can mingle with that society. You got the idea? For example, Holi celebration. The first day of Holi is, muddy celebration. The muddy water they throw upon you, and you can't, fight with them. It's part of the you also be muddy. Okay. Or when they use the colors upon you, you can't say that no, color is allergy to me. You have to celebrate. Am I right? So what I said is like British realized in order to have an effective administration over Indian resources, understanding their culture, language, and their literature is essential. Otherwise, you can't continue here. That is why this Orientalism, that was the placard. That was the placard to have better control over Indian resources and Indian people. It was to appease Indian sentiments. Fear among East India Company officials in the late century, Indians might reject British rule as being alien, thus ventured to study Indian culture, history to placate their sentiments. So actually, there is a feeling, if we do not mingle with you, what will happen? These Indians will throw us out. Okay, so it is always nice, എന്ത് ചെയ്യുക, എവിടെ കയറി പിടിക്കുക, എവിടെ കയറി പിടിക്കണം, എവിടെ കയറി പിടിക്കണം? Come on, yeah, you respond. അവരുടെ സെന്റിമെന്റ്സ് കയറി പിടിക്കണം. Okay, so British realized that studying the culture, studying the language, the literature, the rituals of Indians, mingling with them, understanding their culture, their language, and celebrating their culture, that is one of the effective way of that, yes, efficiently administering Indian resources. അല്ലെങ്കിൽ that is one of the best solution to have good control over Indian administration, Indian resources. Okay, for which they promoted the study of Indian culture, religion, literature, etc. Now there is a racial theory. Maximulus proposed this racial theory, Aryan migration theory, whereby Aryans migrated to India from Central Asia and subjugated the natives. Racial theory provided pseudo-scientific basis for racism in the later century. Again, okay. Again, you can see that this guy, who's the guy? Who's the guy? Yes, this Max Muller. Max Muller. Actually, Max Muller is a German here. Germany and British, they are not a bye-bye. You know, they are actually they're actually enemy to each other. Am I right? In the World War contest and all, we have seen that Germany and this British, they can't never come to, they will never come together. Okay, but Max Muller theory is again, there is an Aryan theory, which is like a European origin theory proposed by Max Muller, which is also the early signs of introducing racism here. Then Collinbrook, Orientalist, pushed for establishment of a museum in the premises of Asiatic society to preserve and display the vestiges of this India's past, also criticizing the practice of study having no validation in the Shastras, calling for abolition, thus demanding a change in ancient traditions. But there are some Orientalists, to the core, they were genuine in their work here. To some extent, we say that to Orientalism, Orientalist philosophy, Orientalist school, it was basically, it was basically something, an administrative tool only, or it was introduced only to support the British colonial rule. But to some extent, you can see some genuine people were also there. For example, this Colebrook, yes, he established what a museum on the premises of Asiatic Society. Asiatic Society by this Johns and this Warren Hastings and all. Now this museum, by which he say he criticized the practice of sati. He criticized the practice of sati and said that the sati has no validation in the Shastras and demanding a change in these ancient traditions. Special enthusiasm of Germans in studying this Orient was not imperialism. Another counter theory is German interest of studying this Indian past is not to satisfy this imperialism because Britain and Germany, they are shatru. They are not a bye bye. Okay, that is another popular theory. Now go for this permanent settlement. You heard about this permanent settlement? What is your idea on permanent settlement? Actually, permanent settlement, you know that it will give permanent income to this British. They appointed some revenue collectors. Zamindar as the revenue collector, they will collect the revenue and give it to British. That was the strategy. It is to get a permanent income for the British. They introduced a permanent settlement. But what was the reality? And come on, what was the reality? Eh? Permanent settlement, you remember? Yes, permanent settlement is signed between. Ah, it is between the British and the Zamindar. Now the Zamindar, he is the owner of the land, revenue collector. He can collect from the farmers, pay fixed income to British, rest can be kept with him. But right? If it is 89 percentage is the revenue that goes to the government and 11 percentage that goes to Zamindar. If any surplus, that also goes to Zamindar. Now you see that this permanent settlement was actually a disappointment for the British. If I say so, will you accept? Raji, will you accept? I say permanent settlement. Actually, it was a total disappointment for this British in the long run. Can you accept? Yes. Why? Exactly. Some problems it has. Okay, for example, the state demand was fixed 89 and 11 percentage, that is within the Zamindar. 4 or 5 million cultivating families in Bengal, Bihar, Odisha, yeah. 4 or 5 million cultivating families or farmers in Bengal, Bihar, Odisha. If the government is directly recruiting these revenue officials for the census, for the revenue collection, revenue estimation, it will be a huge expenditure for the government. Am I right? You got the idea, na? You got the idea, na? See, If I am directly appointing many revenue officials, revenue collectors, revenue estimates, revenue census, for revenue census, revenue estimation, revenue calculation and revenue collection, if I appoint so many like officials, that will be a huge expenditure for the states. Okay, instead of that, in order to reduce that, fiscal expenditure or revenue collection expenditure, what the government had done is government had chosen some zamindars and appointed them as the revenue collector. Now it is the responsibility of the zamindar to collect the revenue and pay to the government. No need to appoint these revenue officers. Am I right? So that was a brilliant idea of this British. Then see, levy taxes on trade and commerce in order to raise more money if needed. The idea was like this: if it is a fixed income, and if we require more income, we will, increase taxes on trade and commerce. In agriculture, we can fix only this much. Am I right? 89% means it is fixed to forever. It is a huge rate, but still it is, in surplus case, we cannot demand more. But don't worry, their idea was like this: if could not to collect it from agriculture, we will collect it from additional income, we will collect it from trade and commerce, we will collect it from trade and commerce. That was their idea. Also, the zamindars, also the zamindars, they will take care of that law and order situations over there. That was also an additional tension for the government. So zamindars were given full power. Zamindars were supposed to take care of that revenue collections and also, but the problem with the zamindars, they themselves involved in many. They themselves were criminals here. They themselves were biggest frauds. Okay. Now what happens next? Yes, since the zamindars themselves were the biggest gunda gundis, it became difficult for the government to control them. We are revenue collectors, revenue power. You see, revenue power is with me. So who can challenge me? Okay, they become the biggest Gunda Gundis. Bengal alone estimated 68% of the Zamindari land was sold in 1794 18. Another problem is like some traditional Zamindars are there. What kind of Zamindars are there? Traditional Zamindars. These traditional Zamindars, they are so sympathetic. Yeah. Suppose this Radhamani, I am taking another example. Radhamani is Zamindar, suppose. And Radhamani is very soft by heart. Eh? She's very soft. Actually, how many acres of land do you have? Eh? Yes, she is having 500 acres of land. 500 acres of land. She had a sugar plantation, coffee plantation, rubber plantation, tea plantation, and she has every plantations, indigo plantations, everything. But the problem is like this Purusha is a farmer. Okay, Purusha is having a family of like 100 wives and 100 children. Raghu is another family. Okay, double century, 200 wives and 200 children. You see, this is not Avamana, this is just an example. Okay, Jijil is a family man without a family. So actually, all these people are working in her estate. Radhamani is the boss, and we all are the Turilalis. But the problem with the Radhamani is like, yes, this Jijil comes and says that Your Majesty, the problem is like, yes, my distant wives are having some severe cough and fever. So this year I am not able to make the payment. So this Radhamani will excuse. Okay, take care of your distant wives and children. Then comes Manu. Manu says that this year, yes, actually I was sleeping without any jobs. I was not working in the plantation, so I have no income. I can't pay. So Radhamani says excused. Raghav says that Radhamani, Your Majesty, I went for sightseeing, so this year I couldn't work well. So I have no income. Radhamani excused. Now suppose Hemant is the British officer. Okay. On that December 31st, Hemant comes and asks Your Majesty Radhamani, yes, where is the income? Radhamani says that my people, my farmers couldn't pay me this year, so I can't pay. Can she say so? Even if her farmers didn't pay, she is liable to make the payment before the sunset of 31st. Otherwise, entire property will be taken away. Otherwise, entire property will be taken away and given to other zamindars. Am I right? So many poor zamindars are there. Many traditional zamindars are there. They are very sympathetic. They are very, they are very sympathetic towards their farmers. So if the farmers fail to make the annual payment, they will excuse. But the British will never excuse the zamindar. So many zamindars lost the zameen. Okay, because of their sympathy for the farmers, many zamindars lost their zameen or land. And new buyers are very, very brutal people. Yeah, new buyers are not like Radhamani. They are very strict and they are something very aggressive. Okay, their money collection, their behavior, and the slapping. You see that all kind of physical torture. They are very brutal people. They increased the profit share from the farmers. Increased earnings of zamindars were not spent on peasants and the zamindars. Another rulas. You see that zamindars never spent on the farmers. Whatever they collect, they ഇടിഞ്ഞ് പിഴിഞ്ഞ് കുത്തി, ഒടിച്ച് squeeze ചെയ്തിട്ട് maximum പിടിച്ചെടുക്കുന്നു. They squeeze to the farmers like anything. And they earn maximum from the farmers, not even a single penny they spend into field. No fertilizer, no incentive, no subsidy, no food, nothing. Okay, പരമാവധി പിഴിഞ്ഞ് വലിച്ച് ഊരി ഊറ്റി എടുക്കാണ്, തിരിച്ചൊന്നും കൊടുക്കുന്നില്ല. You have a cow, Jersey cow. Sometimes you see that at homes, നമ്മൾ പശുവിൻ്റെ പാല് വലിയൊരു വരുമാനമാണ്. കർഷകർക്കൊക്കെ വലിയൊരു വരുമാനമാണ്. പശുവിൻ പാൽ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് അത് കുഞ്ഞുങ്ങൾക്ക് കുടിക്കാൻ മാത്രമല്ല കൊടുക്കുന്നത്, 20-25 ലിറ്ററൊക്കെ പാല് തരുന്ന പശുക്കളുണ്ടാവും. അപ്പോൾ എന്ത് ചെയ്യുന്നു, അത് മാക്സിമം ഊറ്റിയെടുക്കുന്നു. അതിൻ്റെ കുഞ്ഞിന് പോലും കുടിക്കാൻ കൊടുക്കാണ്ട് മാക്സിമം ഊറ്റിയെടുത്ത് നമ്മൾ മിൽമയിൽ കൊണ്ടുപോയി വിൽക്കുന്നു. എന്നിട്ട് ഈ പശുവിന് തിന്നാനും കുടിക്കാനും കൊടുക്കുന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിലോ അത് എല്ലും തോലും ആവില്ലേ? Right? So here you see they are maximum drain ചെയ്യുന്നു, maximum ഊറ്റിയെടുക്കുന്നു, and nothing, they're feeding the farmers. Okay, now see, so that is one issue. The zamindars, they are not spending anything into the farms and into this field and all. Farmers are like, you see that exhausting. Farmers starving, famines. Now see, again these the zamindars, they are not in the plantations. They are staying in the cities, metropolitan cities. Okay, and they appointed some new people for collection of revenue. And the new people, money lenders or revenue collectors coming, they are exploiting the farmers. So all the way, the peasants and government relationship is broken, and the government cannot demand anything extra from the zamindars. Again, you can see that these zamindars, they started manipulating the law and order situation, and they started, misusing their power. Okay, all the way, this permanent settlement had many negative outcomes rather than positive outcomes. As you can see, Bengal alone estimated 68% of the land sold out because the zamindars were not able to make the payment. Then see new buyers. Obviously, I said it. New buyers, they are not that much sympathetic people. They are very brutal with these farmers and tenants. Then increased earnings of zamindars not being spent into farming land or for farmers, and sub-feudalization. I mean, the zamindars appointed, they are busy. They cannot come and collect the revenue directly. They are busy in the luxury life. So they appointed some new revenue collectors and they started exploiting. Okay, that's it. We are winding up this answer sessions, marathon session now. The purpose of the session is very simple: to cover up something which should not be missed in your answer writing. Okay, that's it.